Welcome back. All right, now that all the hockey of the weekend's done, let me go ahead and discuss Survivor Series War Games a bit. Now, it is sad that they finally had a pay per view in Vancouver, which isn't far from me, and I wasn't able to go and see it, but there were 12 games yesterday in the NHL, and I knew it was going to be a long event, and it just didn't make any sense for me to do that. And it was pricey too, although I understand the ticket prices came down just before the event. So looking at the event, and I'll just go through this in sequence. The Rhea Ripley team defeating Liv Morgan's team in the first War Games match. I think we saw that coming. I think that was kind of predictable, but probably the right booking decision. It advances the storyline of Rhea and Liv. It advances the storyline of Tiffany almost cashing in. I do wonder though if there's a law of diminishing returns on Tiffany's cash in. I still think Tiffany's going to make the full face turn when she does cash in on Nia Jax because Nia Jax is not a popular wrestler with the fans. So when Tiffany cashes in and wins the title, whenever that is, I don't know if it's going to be a complete surprise because she keeps trying it. So because she keeps trying it, it kind of takes the surprise away. And of course, Io Sky had to do the garbage can spot because you kind of have to do the garbage can spot. As terrifying as that is, because if you're jumping off the top of the cage like that, you're putting the trust into your opponents to catch you and some of your teammates to catch you as well. And so, yeah, that match, perfectly fine. Apparently, the time on that was 38 minutes and 15 seconds. That's good for a War Games match. They followed that up with Shinsuke Nakamura defeating LA Knight. I think this was the right move. I don't know what it is with LA Knight, but since he became US champion, to me personally, just I feel like something's been lost with the character and the storylines he's had going on. I haven't been that interested in. And it's about time Shinsuke gets a little bit of something. Like Shinsuke's been losing every feud he's been in for years. So winning a belt is important. Shinsuke Nakamura at one point was my favorite wrestler. I remember when he was after the world title, which was held by Jinder Mahal at the time, and Mahal beat him clean. I even watched Mahal beat him clean in person here in Abbotsford, and I remember thinking, what? Like there was no outside interference. It was just Shinsuke lost against Jinder Mahal, and I kept waiting for some kind of signal that something had gone wrong somewhere, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm not saying I expected Shinsuke to win the title in Abbotsford, but it just felt like they were telegraphing to the live audience that they didn't have faith in Shinsuke as a main eventer. I remember the first time I saw WWE live was many years ago, and they had a match between, um, it was Tyson. Oh man, oh what was his name now? And he ended up he was the one that get my bags was what Scott Steiner yelled at him. But he was kind of being pushed, and he had a fight against Tyson Tomko, and he was against Matthew and Jeffrey Hardy, Matt Hardy, and Tomko controlled the whole match, and then Matt just hits a twist of fate out of nowhere and beat him. And I turned to the guys I was with, and I was like, "Yeah, Tomko's push is done. That didn't look great, did it?" And sure enough, yep. So at live shows, they do kind of tell you which wrestlers they have more faith in, and so that was something I noticed back then with Shinsuke was with the way that Jinder beat him. I thought that was more important than just the fact Jinder beat him. So I'm glad to see that Shinsuke's getting a bit of a push here. I do think he loses the title back to LA Knight. I don't know if you do that at the Rumble or if you do that at Mania. I'm not sure which of the two. Braun Breaker keeping the title against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. Please get Braun Breaker out of this feud. It doesn't seem to be doing much of anything for him, and so it's time to get. Honestly, I feel like with Braun, we're almost to the point where he should be going for the big belt. He should be going after Gunther. He absolutely should. Braun Breaker should be in the main event, and they should be pushing him to the moon. So the Intercontinental title, I don't think is helping him at this point, and at least a shot at a champion above him like Gunther would be great. I'd say Cody, but I can't see him going over to the other brand and fighting Cody Rhodes. Um, Gunther defeats Damian Priest, and of course, there's the interference by Finn Balor, which we would have known was coming. So again, this is furthering storylines. The one thing I noticed about this Survivor Series compared to the way that it was conducted way, way, way back in the day, storylines don't seem to end with the big pay per views now the way that they used to. It used to be you build up the big pay per view and that'll be your blow off match. And Survivor Series now is just it's another step along the way. It feels like now Mania is where you actually see the culmination of these big things, and that Survivor Series is used to build to the Rumble, and the Rumble is just used to set up Mania. And so, I mean, in terms of long term storytelling, I'm okay with it, but it to me it makes a pay per view kind of anticlimactic when you come out of the pay per view with the same feuds that you went into the pay per view with, and it does feel like there was a time where the feuds would end and then a new feud would start the next week on the show, right? So, anyways, but I'm old, so what do I know? But yeah, so Damian Priest, I think, is going to be a champion again at some point. I don't know which title he's going to end up winning, but I do think Damian Priest, they're building him up. I've seen some people mad about his title reign and say it wasn't very good. I think it was fine. And then, of course, the Bloodline. And the big storyline out of that was A, Bloodline 1.0 ends up winning that match. B, no shenanigans, no turncoats. I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think the turns are going to happen. I don't know if we'll see one tomorrow night on Raw. Maybe. I don't know if we'll see one on SmackDown either. Like, there's going to be some turns. We know there's tag teams that are going to turn against one another. We know that there's storylines that seem to be leading towards all these tag teams breaking up. Like, is every tag team breaking up? It feels like that's the case. Like, when I do a favorite tag team list, and I'm going to at some point do a favorite tag team list, there's going to be some tag teams that are on the verge of breaking up. Like, New Day would probably still be my favorite tag team, and we know they're not going to be around much longer. But I really think they've been fantastic for a very long time. I'd be tempted to put the Usos on the list too, although they haven't been teaming together, and apparently Jimmy got hurt. Apparently, in the big main event, Bronson Reed got hurt, and he's going to be out for a while and was jumping off the top. What is it with these guys jumping off the top of cages? So first, and here's the thing. I can't come down and say, oh, AEW shouldn't have allowed Adam Copeland to do it, and then watch Bronson Reed do something similar and get hurt and not say something similar to that. The trick with wrestling has always been to make it look dangerous while it's pretty controlled and it's pretty safe. And in this day and age, the danger factor is still pretty high. Yet you have an internet that anytime that they try to control things so wrestlers don't get hurt, they point it out. Crash mats. Crash mats being the one thing that the internet will look at. Oh, there's a crash mat. We can see a crash mat. So you'd rather the guy gets thrown onto concrete from 25 feet up? Okie dokie. But, like, seriously, I do think that you have to, take care of these wrestlers. If you haven't watched enough episodes of Dark Side of the Ring to understand this storyline, go watch some more Dark Side of the Ring. It is a very physical job being a pro wrestler. And for anybody who says, pro wrestling's no big deal, go watch Dark Side of the Ring. Pick an episode of Dark Side of the Ring. I would recommend the Chris Canyon episode's fantastic. There's a really good episode on Marty Jannetty as well, which is both humorous and tragic at the same time. So there's a lot of storylines that you see in Dark Side of the Ring that I don't think WWE wants to follow when you see these guys getting hurt. One thing to keep in mind is that wrestling doesn't stop. Wrestling doesn't have an off season. So when a wrestler gets hurt, you have two choices. You work through it to try to keep your spot on the card, or you take time off to try to heal up, and you may very well lose your spot on the card. When you come back, maybe you're not a main eventer anymore. And if you get hurt a couple of times in a year, the promoter might say, I'd love to put the belt on you, but you get hurt a lot, and you're not really reliable. We need somebody who could do the house show circuit. We need somebody that we know is going to be able to do all the dates. So I feel bad for wrestlers, and hopefully anybody that got hurt last night's event is fine sooner rather than later. But it does look like it was a pretty fun event. People I know that went really enjoyed it. When I saw the results and I saw there was the one title change and there wasn't really any huge storyline changes, obviously there's different ways they can go with this now going forward. I think the CM Punk Seth Rollins feud will be on. Now that Bronson Reed's hurt, I think that's what's going to happen. but we shall see. Let me know your thoughts. How did you feel about this year's Survivor Series War Games? Do you think they should do War Games every year or make that part of Survivor Series? I kind of miss the old Survivor Series matches. I do. I'm old fashioned. I miss the 5-on-5 matches where it's single elimination. You get down to maybe one side has 4 guys left and the other side's eliminated. Maybe you're down to a one-on-one match. I kind of miss that. I'd love to see them bring it back. I definitely think with the amount of factions you have in wrestling, they absolutely could. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.